Hello all. Welcome to the session on XAT decision making. In this session, I'll help you out with some tips and tricks how to handle the decision making section of the XAT paper. Where the XAT paper is on the corner, we are almost prepared with all the sections. Decision making is something like where we generally have a feeling whether my answer would be right or not right. Because we generally think that decision making is primarily the case basis. But let me tell you that decision making is on certain parameters, and these parameters are freezed for XAT paper. So let's look into the questions variety, and we'll also see how to handle those questions. So the types of questions that we get, the first variety that we get is a caselet variety. A caselet variety, when I'm saying, you would have more than one question. So it would be on the basis of certain idea, belief, ideology, problem. And we are supposed to answer the questions attached with the caselet. The second variety of questions are on the basis of case-based. That would refer to, you would have one question attached with it, and we need to find a solution to that question. It'll be kind of a problem solving rather than any other reading comprehension passage. So we are supposed to find out the solution to the problem being given in the passage. The third variety would refer to as a best course of action. So when I'm saying best course of action, that would refer to that out of certain parameters, certain choices being given to you, you are supposed to find out which is the best course of action that can be taken to a particular condition. इसके अंदर एक बहुत important point है जो हमको समझना पड़ेगा, और वो important point ये है that even if all the answer choices may not be correct, still one of them would be better than the remaining. So that means I may not find a perfect answer, but I may find an answer which is better than the remaining answer choices. Moving to the next variety would be the perspective analysis. Now, what do you mean by perspective analysis? Perspective analysis would refer to, you would be given a condition where you are supposed to analyze on the basis of a particular stance. That means, for example, if there is something given on the X and something given on the Y, my question would be, why did X say this? Or why did X do this to Y? So this is a perspective analysis. We need to find out the reason for X doing an action, or what should X do. Such kind of elements would be considered as the perspective analysis. The next variety would be the next best step. That would refer to the entire passage has been given. अब हमें find out करना है कि कौन सा एक next best step है जिसे हम as a course of action ले सकते हैं. Please understand, this next best step should be in sync with the passage. It cannot be in isolation. It has to be in sync with the case that is what been provided to you. It cannot be in isolation. The last one given here is a reason for the next step. So, even if they would have given the next best step, or if they would have given that this is the course of action that is what been taken by Mr. X, we need to justify that course of action. And that justification would come with a reason for the next step. Why X has taken such step. So perhaps we'll have to go and presume something, and on the basis of that presumption, we'll have to derive why did X do this, or why did X say this. So this is how, or this is the way we'll be getting the questions. Let's move on, and let me help you out with what are we supposed to do during answering or finding the solution to the decision making. The first thing that you need to do is you're supposed to read the entire case in sync with the question. Now, what do you mean by in sync with the question? सिर्फ पैसेज नहीं पढ़ना है, हमको क्वेश्चन भी देखना है what the question is demanding. Because once I know what my question is demanding, it becomes easy for me to then read the passage from that point of view without wasting much time. Second, identifying the problem. This is one of the most important pointer because if we cannot identify the problem, we cannot find out the solution to that. It's as simple about it. So identifying the problem is a paramount element. Therefore, this identification of the problem would happen only when we break different elements, when we break the entire passage into different parts, and then we would be in a position to identify the problem there. The third one, it says get information of different stakeholders. In a passage, we are supposed to identify how many stakeholders are there. Now here stakeholders would refer to how many parties, how many people involved, right? How many elements involved. So we are supposed to find out a solution in sync with all the parties. It should not be a skewed decision. I'll surely help you out in the next slide how you would be taking care of all the stakeholders. Fourth, important criteria for finding a solution. You are supposed to look for where would I find a clue to find a solution. How would I be going ahead to find a solution? That is what known as important criteria for finding a solution. The fifth one says, look for the objective of the question. Now, what do you mean by objective of the question? Objective of the question would be finding a solution, but finding a solution in what respect? That would be, are they looking for ethical problems? Are they looking for financial problem? Are they looking for managerial problem? So from what point of view they are looking for that answer? That has to be taken care of. Let me take you to the next slide where you would understand how to find out the solution. So I would call this as one set of problem solving trick. Now what is this problem solving trick? Which would be applicable to most of the questions. Always understand, to find a solution, we need to go step by step. We cannot go randomly finding out an answer. Always understand, the first step that we need to adopt is what known as SAM in Hindi, जिसका मतलब होता है चीजों को समझाना या चीजें समझना. Either you are supposed to make people understand about it or you need to get acquainted with the information. तो यहाँ पे हम चीजों को और विस्तृत रूप से जान रहे हैं. SAM is all about getting more information, understanding or making people understand about the issue. That is what known as SAM, which is equal to apprising a condition. If we find out a solution at the stage 1, we are not supposed to go to the stage 2, 3 or 4. We cannot find a solution just by apprising a condition. Then we will have to move to the second part, which is DAM. The DAM primarily refers to as it says, payment or incentive. But here I am not primarily saying payment or incentive. Perhaps I'll call this to be as a win-win condition, where all the parties should win. That would be considered to be as DAM. Something known as a profitable condition for all the parties concerned would refer to as DAM. Still, if I could not find out the solution to a problem, then only I'll have to move to the third pointer, which would be DUNT. Even if after so much of cajoling and coaxing, if the person does not understand or we cannot find a solution, then we'll have to move to the third step, which is about punishing the elements. Now this punishment does not mean physical punishment, but maybe little harsh. I mean little harsh. maybe little rude, maybe making him aware that this would have negative consequences in near future. That is what known as dand. The fourth element is what known as bhed. Bhed in English is known as division. So this is the last step that we do, which is all about division, distinction, discord, moving away, detracting, anything that we may call it. This fourth step would come down only if we cannot find the solution in 1, 2, and 3. Let's understand all of these with respect to a question. But before that, let me help you out that there are certain answers which you are not supposed to take. You should avoid taking those as answers. The first variety says any answer choice that talks about arrogance, high-handedness. Our passages or the caselets would not be looking for arrogance, high-handedness, or any of such allied things. They'll be primarily looking for finding a solution with the logic, not by arrogance. So, avoid taking this as the part of your answers. Second one is known as pliable. A pliable would refer to as when somebody is easily being cajoled, where somebody would easily agree to something. So any answer choice which is easy variety and say yes to the condition without considering other elements should also be rejected. So वो व्यक्ति जो easily influenced हो जाए, वो sentence जो easily influence हो जाए, वो solution जो easily influence हो जाए, ऐसा आंसर हम नहीं लेंगे. Third one, evasive variety. Evasive variety would refer to as where I'm not catering to the core. Where I'm not catering to the core, I am just talking about the peripheral. If I talk about the peripheral but do not help the core of it, that is what we known as evasive answer. That means वो मेन मुद्दे की बात ना करके आसपास की सारी बातें करेगा और उनके सोल्यूशन शायद निकाल ले, बट कोर का जो सवाल पूछा गया है उसका सोल्यूशन नहीं मिलेगा. That is what known as evasive. Moving to the fourth one, procrastinating mindset. Now, procrastinating would refer to as when you delay on something. हो जाएगा, नहीं कर रहे, ध्यान नहीं दे रहे, you are not paying heed towards it. Any answer choice? Where it says that it is not important, I would not be taking that because that's a part of the procrastinating mindset. Or where it says it takes a casual view, I'll not be taking that. So that kind of a casual, that kind of an indifferent, that kind of a solution where I do not pay heed towards it should be rejected. The fifth one says status quo. Status quo का मतलब होता है ज्यों का त्यों. जिस परिस्थिति में पहले थे उसी परिस्थिति में अभी है. तो फिर हमने सोल्यूशन क्या निकाला? अगर हमने उसी परिस्थिति को बरकरार रखा तो हमने कोई सोल्यूशन नहीं निकाला है. Therefore, I say avoid such kind of answers. Sixth one says implausible. So when I say implausible, I am saying a kind of an argument that is not a reasonable argument. So any argument that is not reasonable, something that cannot convince you, something that is not worth it, that does not hold water, that does not have gravity, should not be taken as a part of the answer. It might be factually correct from the outside world, but would not be correct with respect to the passage. I repeat, even if the answer is factually correct from the outside world, but it may not be correct with respect to the logic and reasoning. That is what known as implausible answers. The seventh variety is known as unethical or illegal answers. So any answer choice that is unethical. Any answer choice that talks about illegal references should be avoided. Our answers generally in XAT would be of ethics variety. So you are supposed to stick to the ethical issues. No ethical dilemma should come in there. It should be for the benefit of many, not the benefit of one. Even if at the cost or the loss of one benefit many, there's a very high probability that will be an answer. So make sure you do not get detracted from this ethical element. You should stay to ethics. Unethical or illegal issues should not be taken as a part of the answers. Now, let's move to the questions. So here is a question. Let's go through that. So a database software manufacturing company found out that a product it has launched recently has few bugs. Okay. So what I'm saying is it has got certain problems in it. The product has already been bought by more than 1 million customers. I agree. Okay. The company realized that the bug could cost its customers significantly. So that means this bug is dangerous. That's what I know. However, if it informs the customers about the bug, it fears losing credibility. So if they will talk about that bug, then they're going to lose the credibility. So what will be the most ethical option for the company? Can you see that? It has already mentioned ethical, right? So let's try to find out the answer to this question. I'm supposed to find out the ethical option. This is what we'll have to understand. Good enough? Now, what do you mean by ethical option? An ethical option is that their credibility should also be retained, and they should also be telling it to the customers that there are bugs in it which may create a problem. Let's get into the A portion. Apologize and fix up the bug for all customers even if it has to incur losses. So that means first thing is obviously say that there's a problem with this database software management, and the company would fix up the bug for all customers even if it has to incur losses. I think this is one of the feasible solutions so far because we have read only A, because it gives solution to two problems. So now let's see for B. Do not tell customers about bugs and remove only when customers face problem, even if it means losses for the customers. Now can you see that do not tell customers about bugs? I find this to be as unethical, while my question has already defined that it has to be on ethical grounds. So this one is outrightly rejected. Let's try C. Keep silent and do nothing. We just said any answer which is evasive, any answer which would procrastinate, we would not be taking that as a part of our answer. So according to that rationality, C should also be ruled out. D. Keep silent but introduce keep silent. Ethical issue still ruled out. But still, let's read the complete sentence. But introduce an improved product that is bug-free at the earliest. But that will be for the future customers and not for the customers who already have it. So that will be unethical on the part of the current customers. So D should also be ruled out. He says, take the product off the mark and apologize to customers. Apologizing is still okay, but taking off the mark does not find a solution to it. If the customer has taken any product, he is going to use it. He does not want an apology from the company only. He wants improvement on that. The client would be looking for something concrete, not just apologies. Hence, E is also ruled out. So we are left with A. Apologize. Okay. So they admit that yes, there is a problem and fix up the bug for all customers even if it has to incur losses. So even if the losses have been incurred, that's okay. But in long run, the credibility would go on And if they would remove these bugs, then the profitability would increase over the period of time. So, out of the choices given, A suits to our requirement. Hence, A should be the answer. Let's try another question and find out the solution for that. Here is the question. You, a recruitment manager, are interviewing Mayank, a hardworking young man who has problem in speaking fluent English. So where is the issue? Speaking fluent English. He has studied in vernacular medium. Vernacular would refer to as in their state language, any of the state language, any of the local language schools. Amongst the following options, what would you choose to do if your company has vacancies? So, in my company, there are certain vacancies, and I am hiring people around. I came around a person called Mayank. He cannot speak fluent English, but one thing is for sure, I see that he is hardworking young man. Good enough? So one positive and one negative. That's what I could have realized. Now, my answer should be on the basis of these parameters. I would hire him at all costs. Now, as I can see, there was one positive and one negative with Mayank. All costs may cost my company. Hence, A rules out. B. I would hire him for the job he is good at. That sounds interesting. I would hire him for the job he is good at and provide training in other areas. That sounds interesting. So instead of giving him any kind or any job that would require conversation or communication, perhaps he should be given a desk job. So that is what it is saying. Hire him for the job he is good at. So according to his skill sets, provide him with the job and then the training can be given to him. This sounds interesting, but I don't know whether this is the correct answer because I'll have to go through all the answer choices. Let me go through C. I would hire him for production or finance job. Why am I getting so specific about production or finance job? Okay, let that be. But not for marketing job, which requires good communication skills. Now here I'm making a little assumption that marketing requires good communication skills and the major role in marketing is played by communication rather than any other parameters. This is a far-fetched assumption. And also here, when I say hiring for production and finance, this also is a far-fetched assumption that it does not require communication or it requires less communication. I hope on the grounds of these, I can remove C. Let me go with D. I would ask him to improve his communication skills and come back again. Obviously, if he improves his communication skills, then why would he be coming back to me? Then he can go anywhere. And the vacancy is at this given point of time. Am I not evading the problem? I require people now, he requires job now, and I'm saying come after a few months. This is evading the issue. Hence, this should again be ruled out. Moving to the E. I would not hire him as he might be a burden on organization because of his poor communication skills. Now again, a far-fetched assumption that if somebody does not have good communication skills, he would become a burden for the company. This is again a far-fetched assumption. So, of the choices being given, I would go with B, give him the job, whatever that he is good at, and whatever my requirement is. For the remaining, I can find somebody else, but for the later stage, I can provide Mayank with training in other areas. Hence, B is one of the best choices that I can identify here. So, boys and girls, with this, you would have realized how do we find out the answer to these questions. With this, I wind up the session here, and I assume that you would have got a good picture for this. All the best for your XAT paper. Bye-bye.